What's up, y'all? Welcome to Pulse City. I'm Malcolm X, and in the city, all Black Lives Matter. Our topic for today is ending SARS, our hashtag end SARS.
What's up, Pulse City fam? This is Angela Say This, Voice of the People. The situation in Nigeria regarding SARS is a painful yet familiar one.
And unless you've been living under a rock for the last 2 weeks, I'm sure you have heard about SARS in Nigeria, and ending SARS, and why it's bad, and protest and killing. That being said, what is end SARS? That's a great question. SARS is a wing of the police unit in Nigeria. And what SARS stands for is the Special Armed Robbery Squad. Their goal and sole purpose in life is to stamp out robberies and other crimes.
For those who don't know, SARS is a police law enforcement organization that was created in 1986 to combat violent crime.
That being said, for the last 3 years from the origination of the hashtag, they have been accused of overstepping their boundaries. They have been accused of essentially breaking the law in the midst of trying to enforce it. There have been several reports of people that have gone missing, that have been killed in their custody, that have been raped in their custody, that have been robbed in their custody. And each of the last 3 years, going back to 2017, there have been protests against their actions, and the government has said, okay guys, we're going to disband SARS. And guess what? SARS still here. So that being said, some activists took to social media a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, let's get together and protest SARS.
However, it seems like instead of combating violent crime, that organization is perpetuating it against its own citizens, brutalizing and abusing, stealing, as well as even murdering its own citizens. The same citizens that it is set to serve and protect. Does that sound familiar? Like I said, painful, yet a familiar fight.
Now, the activists, who include musicians and other celebrities in Nigeria, only expected a handful of people to show up for the protest. When they got there, thousands of people were there. So they went on a march to protest SARS that ended at the Capitol, and they gave a list of demands where they demanded the end of SARS. And get this, y'all. The president of Nigeria came out and said, hey, for real this time, we're going to end SARS. That being said, there have been several conversations about what happens to SARS now that it's been for real disbanded. There have been talks of creating what is essentially SWAT, Strategic Weapons and Tactics. There's been talk of disbanding them into the medical field. There's been talks of disbanding them into other parts of the government, but ultimately the idea of SARS has not gone away, and it does not look like the government of Nigeria is going to push it away.
Shout out to the young people in Nigeria though, because this October, they have recently taken to the streets and have organized the largest uprising in a generation. They're demanding change. They're demanding a better world and a safer place for not just themselves, but for the generation coming after them. That's a fight that we know very well. Black people all over this world, all over the diaspora, have had to take to the streets, have had to protest, and had to fight in all kinds of different ways just so that we can simply exist in our own skin and safely in our own neighborhoods and our own countries.
That being said, end SARS. And what does that mean to end SARS? End SARS means to completely disband it and get rid of it. And what I found probably the most interesting being an American to watch this unfold in Nigeria is, one, I see a lot of similarities between the end SARS movement and the militarization of police and the lack of oversight for police and the lack of culpability or accountability for police. I've seen many parallels between what I've read about SARS and what's going on here in the good old US of A. And unfortunately, there have been a number of Black Americans who just kind of looked at end SARS and say, oh, that's their problem, not ours. Unfortunately, there seems to be a pattern, or maybe not a pattern, and maybe not even a causation, but maybe a correlation, go here with me if you will, between white colonization or European colonization and the use of police. or the overuse of police and the over-policing of people who look like me. That being said, well, in Nigeria, it's nothing but black people, so how can you draw correlations between those two? So if you think about it for a second, Nigeria has not always been independent. Nigeria at one point fell under the purview of the French. And it's only been within the last 50, 60 years or so that they've actually gained their independence from France. That being said, Nigeria is one of the most oil-rich countries in the world. Doesn't look like it, but it is. Which means that several Europeans and several other factions from around the world come to Nigeria to get the oil out of there and take it back to their home countries. So even though Nigeria may be an independent country, it still suffers, like many of the other African countries that were colonized, from the after effects of colonization, or the colonization hangover, if you will. That being said, that's why in my mind, there are similarities between what we're seeing in Nigeria, what we're seeing in the Central Republic of Africa, and because they've got their own issues with over-policing there as well, and what we're seeing here. And ultimately, I'm tired.
It really hurts my heart as a Black American that everywhere we go, everywhere Black people are, this is a fight that is just so common and so familiar. And I do pray for my brothers and sisters down there in Nigeria because they have a long fight ahead of them. What can we do to support the young Nigerians out there taken to the streets on the front lines of this fight?
As we record this, we are about 24 hours from the young man that was killed in Philadelphia. His family called the police because the young man was having a mental episode. And instead of dealing with him in a way that was appropriate for someone having a mental episode, they gunned the young man down in front of his family. And the citizens of Philadelphia felt that they had seen enough and took to the streets to protest. And I actually woke up to videos this morning of the police running away from the crowds of protesters, as the crowds of protesters chased the police through the street. Go Philly. That being said, it hurts my heart to see people that we're supposed to entrust with our safety ultimately taking advantage of that trust and either robbing us or killing us. That ain't right. That shit is not right at all. That being said, what can we do?
The only reason I even know about the situation is because social media has put it all over the world. I saw the hashtag #EndSARS now and hashtag #EndSARS. It was trending worldwide. That caught the attention of prominent voices, celebrities, and other very powerful people as they decided to take on this fight with them.
There's one thing that we can do here in America, and I'll get to Nigeria in a second. One thing that we can do here in America is that a week from today is election day. Now, I know what you're going to say. Hey, Malcolm, elections don't cure anything, votes don't matter, and all that, right? That being said, there's a party out there that has committed themselves as the law and order party, that have committed themselves to the continuation of hurtful policies to Black and brown people, where they're going to lock Black men and women up in cages, as well as brown men, women, and children in cages. There's another party who has said, hey, maybe that's a little extreme. Maybe we shouldn't lock people up in cages. I'm going to take my chances with the folks that's not out here touting that they're going to lock people up in cages and calling people from other countries rapists, right? And killers. That being said, we've got to push and get these folks to do the right thing by us. We pay taxes, we pay their salaries. That being said, I've already voted. And I hope that if you're watching this before election day or even after election day, I hope you have voted, that you plan on voting. That being said, there is a second option here. And I like to call that option the guillotine. If you think about the origins of this country, right there in the Constitution, it says that we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men were created equal. That being said, they didn't mean poor white people. They definitely didn't mean our friends from Latin America and the Hispanic diaspora. They only meant other rich white dudes and probably the ones that were in that room writing the Constitution. This country was never meant to serve people who look like me. And that being said, maybe it's time to do something different. Marie Antoinette told the French, let them eat cake, and they cut her head off.
I think it's up to us to make sure that that hashtag never leaves our timelines and that we continue to amplify the voices of the people on the ground during this fight. It's important that they are the leaders. They are the ones that started this fight. They will be the ones to continue to lead it, and it is our job to support them. Research organizations in Nigeria that are down there providing aid and support and writing new laws and everything that they could possibly can do to combat this situation, because it's important and it's real.
And you know what they have in France now, over 200 years later? 35-hour work weeks, 25 days of vacation mandated by law. I don't hear the French complaining about how they're living. I don't hear them dying in the streets over COVID. 8 million people going into poverty. I don't hear any of those stories, do you? That being said, it's time to start over. Think about it like this. We had a Supreme Court justice that was just approved yesterday, as I'm recording this. And ACB has claimed to be an originalist when it comes to interpreting the law. And ultimately, an originalist is someone who looks at any of the court cases and they try to apply the logic of the founding fathers as it relates to the Constitution. That being said, I bet you $1 million if we dug up Thomas Jefferson today and put him in front of a TV to watch ACB's confirmation, he would say, why are you putting a woman on the Supreme Court? You let women talk? And it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time that she claims to be an originalist when the founding fathers wouldn't even allow her to interpret law to begin with. Wake up, America! America! It's time for us to do right by us. When this country was founded, it was only founded for a certain number of folks. And that being said, there have been people that have protested and wars have been fought to get the gains that we have up to this point.
The last thing I think we need to do is we need to make sure we hold our leaders accountable. Hold every leader accountable that is making promises to be better, to do better, and to create better. And again, to make sure that those that have started this movement continue to be leaders in it. My heart is with them, and it's with every person in this fight. If you believe in right and wrong, then this is your fight too. I'm Angela Say This, voice of the people. This is Pulse City, and I'll see you guys next time.
That being said, I think we've gone as far as we're going to go with what we have. And it's time to do something completely different if we want this country ultimately to survive and work for the benefit of those who live here. That being said, I'm Malcolm X. Thank you guys for stopping into the city. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Oh my god, orange is not my new black.